Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Amy Lee Westervelt of Gratitude and Glamour. Amy Lee, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I've been so excited to be here.
Definitely. I'm excited as well to have you on. You're doing so many phenomenal things. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Amy Lee so you can hear about some of those awesome things. And Amy Lee is a dream design coach and mindset expert who works predominantly with sensitive and emotionally intelligent entrepreneurs. Through her signature programs and coaching, she has assisted in the transformation of thousands of business owners from anxious and unaware to empowered and abundant. Her unique law of attraction-centric approach marries gratitude and personal value. She strives to leave her clients with an affinity for the finer things in life and a deep belief in the worthiness of these experiences. Amy Lee, great to have you on the show. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I am so ready.
Awesome. Well, let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
Yeah, absolutely. So my story has so many pieces, right? Like I feel like one of the things about being a CEO is we pivot and then we pivot. And sometimes we kind of do a whole circle and we end up right back where we were. So I started out way back in the day. I was a stay-at-home mom, and then I kind of got the bug. Before I got married, I had worked in, corporate America, whatever. So I kind of started to get the bug, had a little blog, and then we moved to Alaska. And my husband was in the military and I was miserable. We were 7,000 miles from home. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore, buddy. I'm like, we need to figure something out. And he's like, well, if you can figure out how to replace my income, I'll get out. And I was like, done and done. But I had no idea how I was going to do that. So long story short, and there's a lot of pieces of that story, and we can go into that in another interview. But I ended up finding this network marketing company that was brand new. And so I ended up jumping in with them. So I'm in there with them, and really part of it was definitely to make money, but part of it was because I finally was like, okay, I get to be the visionary. I get to empower women, sometimes men, but mostly women, to really go after their dreams. I was big into the law of attraction. I was big into The Secret. I'd always made it work for me. But then I kind of like fell out of it. Then I'd go back to it. And it was kind of, like this, like a yo-yo diet for manifesting, if you will. And so, so then after that happened, I ended up, really kind of feeling disenchanted with this because yes, I was making ridiculous money. I mean, like more than surgeons make, to put it mildly, I was making in this company, but I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling like I was really getting to pour into people. The company really wanted us to toe the company line and not necessarily to speak about what was really going to empower people. And so I had to make a really tough decision. And I walked away from a whole bunch of money a month. And I started my own coaching company. And so I started, like you said, coaching empaths and highly sensitives. And that's what I am. And that's what I love. And then I kind of started to get a little bit bored. And I was like, okay, guys, like it doesn't light me up to teach you about who you are. It's an aspect, but let's do something, right? I like to think of it like if you had a course where you're teaching firefighters how to firefight, that's one thing. But you could also teach firefighters how to invest in real estate, or how to open their own ice cream shop, or how to invest in the stock market, right? It's the niche, it's not the topic. So I realized that empaths, highly sensitives, creatives, intuitives were my niche and not my topic. So once I did that, I was like, okay, what's the thing that I really want to focus on? And then I was like, it's dream design. It's the creative process. Because most of the people that I had coached over the first couple of years of coaching empaths and highly sensitives were people who didn't know what they wanted, or they felt guilty for wanting more, or they felt like they just couldn't, they were too overwhelmed to think about it. And that's when dream design was born. And I don't know if you know, Russell Brunson talks all the time about the blue ocean. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, friend, dream design is my blue ocean. I own the attraction-centric.com. Nobody else that I know of is a dream design coach. And so, but it's the creative process. It's ask, believe, receive. And I put my own spin on it. And people just can't get enough of it, right? Like everybody's like, dream design. I want to sign up with a dream design coach. And the branding has just kind of flowed in because I got really clear on what I wanted to do, and then let my intuition kind of write the story.
Yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that. And I think too that so many times we when we think about life, when we think about biz, we don't think about the journey. We think about, that path or that we're at. And I think that as we start to drill down sometimes in our life, we find that we try on, that shoe, so to speak, and that shoe might have fit at one point, but we might have grown out of it, or we might be looking for a different style or a different shape. So I love that you talked about each of those steps, because I think so many times we can beat ourselves up when we feel like, oh, this is not the right path or the right thing, but maybe you just want to pivot or change, and that can lead you to even more opportunity and even more, value and I think impact that you can have.
And I love that you say that too, because I always tell my clients, you don't have to get a tattoo on your face that says that this is your niche, right? Like it evolves over time. And you may say, well, I really love this aspect of this niche, but this part I don't love. So then you write that part out and you repel the people who have that, and you bring in the people, and you just keep evolving, and you do it in conjunction with what really lights up your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's incredibly powerful, because you get that opportunity to kind of figure what that is out, and you get to kind of work through that. So I love that you do that for your clients as well too. Could you take us through a little bit more on what you're doing as a dream design coach and what that process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So a dream design coach. So basically what it is most people don't know what they want. They think they know, but what they're going after is what other people tell them they want, or what people on TV tell them they want, or what advertising tells them they want. Most people really haven't done what I call the dream design work. And it's funny because everybody talks about their work ethic. I have such great work ethic. I'm so, but nobody ever talks about their dream ethic. Nobody ever sits down and do the dream work. And the interesting thing is, so many people think the reason I don't have what the person who has what I want has is because they have more money, it's because they have more time, and it's because they have more luck. And I'm kind of in your face here to say, it's because you don't know what it is. Because if you sit down and do the dream work ahead of time, the universe has no choice but to rearrange the path to make that happen for you. The problem is, either you don't feel like you deserve it and you're blocking it, or you're just so flippant overwhelmed. And we all live in a world of decision fatigue, right? Like Facebook conditions you to do this. Like you literally look at your newsfeed and they're like, don't look at this. There's stuff over here. Oh, there's stuff over. Like who, if they wanted someone to have like peace of spirit, would put the information outside of their peripheral vision? They're not your friend, right? So we live in such a distracted society that people really need to slow down and get these details. And so what I do is I make people get crystal clear on what it is that they're trying to create. Because once they get clear on that, guess what? Now they know what to do, right? Because if I know, you might say, oh, well, I really want to get, 10,000 followers on Instagram. Okay, but why? Well, because I guess if I do that, then I get the swipe up feature. Okay, but why? Well, because then people could go to my website and buy my stuff. Okay, but why? Well, because I want to make lots of money. Okay, but why? Well, because I want to have peace and I want to find it. So what happens when we focus on you feeling financially stable, or what's the geographic freedom? Let's focus on that. Then anything can come in to fulfill that. But you are going the other way around. You're going down from the top. Sorry, bottom up, right? Bottom up. And so you're thinking of it like this, and you're like, this is the only way it's going to happen. I got to get 10,000 followers. Well, no, you don't, because if Oprah sees your ad and makes a phone call, you've got 500 million. So it doesn't have to be that way. But people are so conditioned that it has to go the ways that I know of. So one of the things I do with my clients is I make them come up with 10, and I'll make you do this too, 10 different ways that they can achieve their dreams that they've never thought of those circumstances before. Like that's your homework, okay, Gresh? I'm going to make you go do that for homework. Right. What are 10 ways that you could get to your goal, what your true goal is, that you've never even fathomed? Like something incredible, like a helicopter crashes in your backyard very safely, and the person's like, oh my gosh, you had a big piece of grass. What can I do to pay you? Let me give you $100,000. Like that could happen. Oprah could be standing in front of you at the grocery store and turn around and say, oh my gosh, I love your shoes. And people are like, well, that'll never happen. Well, but it could. She could be visiting her friend that lives in that town, and she had to go grab a carton of milk and some eggs. It's just as likely as it is not to happen. And so that's what I do. I get people to remember who the heck they're dealing with, themselves. the ultimate creator. I bring back that empowerment. I remind you of who's in charge on this planet. And it ain't the people trying to tell you that you're not good enough, or that you need their help, or that you need their protection. And so that's what I do. I am a crap stirrer, so to speak. I am a rebel. I am a revolutionary. And I am here to let the world know that it is all about radical responsibility. You are 100% responsible for your life. You're the one who is in the driver's seat. You get to make the choices, nobody else.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I truly appreciate that, Amy Lee, and I definitely will take that challenge. Homework will be completed as well as anybody else who's listening to this too. You should definitely do that homework. But I think so many times we think externally about like how can we make our lives better, and we get pulled into this. You're not good enough because of X, Y, and Z, which sometimes happens because of marketing and advertising and things that people say, and so on and so forth. We feel like we're not complete or we don't have enough. I love how you kind of talk about drilling down and asking, but why, to everything, to really understand the true essence of what we're trying to do. Because I think we can get so attached into the how instead of the why. We have to get the 10,000 Instagram followers because that's going to lead to X, Y, and Z. When in reality, the true thing that we're hoping to get, there's 10, 15, 20, unlimited number of ways sometimes we can get to that goal. So I love that you're able to kind of reframe and help empower people in order to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my job. That's why I was born. And that's what I'm here to do.
That's extremely powerful to know that, and to walk into that, and I guess make that impact on a daily basis. And so would you consider that to be what I like to call your secret sauce, the thing you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique? Is it that ability to really drill down and get that information and that I guess knowledge of self and do that work for individuals?
I think probably my superpower is that I see people at their highest self. I can see a person at the ultimate of their potential. So I can kind of like I approach them from that highest self. And so it's really easy for me to kind of help ease them into that future self persona because I see them there already, right? Like I see them where they want to go. I mean, I full disclosure, I am psychic. I didn't know that till last year.
Mhm.
So I guess there's some kind of I don't really know too much about it. I just know that I know things that I think I should know, but they don't think I should know, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh, and blah blah blah. They're like, how did you know that? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's the empath. But the more that I study and the more that I spend time with clients, the more I'm realizing there's a lot of things that I pick up on that they're not necessarily broadcasting on purpose. And so I think that's kind of part of it. And the other thing too is that, my big message is that your dreams are your job, right? Like it's not some frivolous thing that you do on the side. You literally signed a contract when you came to this planet, threw on the skin suit and said, like you work for UPS, you put on the brown thing, you drive the box car, it's all good. It's the same thing with Earth. You come here to do something. You may not remember what it is, but it's your job to find out. So we think as a society that it's all about, just stay in your lane and do your job and get your paycheck and then you get to retire. That's not what it is. It's about finding that dream because that dream, that is what the universe wants you to do, or God or source or Allah or higher power. That's why they hired you, right? To come here. And so you have that work that you have to do. So when people are around me, I don't mince words about it. I'm like, you better get to work. Like, this isn't some cute thing that you're like, I think I'll take up basket weaving and dreaming. Like, no, like you were here to do this work. And guess what? Here's the coolest part. When you get those good feelings, the ones I'm talking about, when you're doing something that you love, those are incentives from the universe. Like, yeah, no kidding. You're going in the right direction. As opposed to like, if you get on like a political thread on Facebook, I know I rag on Facebook all the time, but like you get on a thread and you're like, I feel awful. No kidding. The universe is doing that. So you stop doing that because that's not where you're serving. Now, to somebody who's a political analyst or a lobbyist, they get off on that stuff. They're like, yeah, let's keep on going in and they love it because that's what they're supposed to do. So listening to that intuition and kind of listening to where does it feel good and where does it feel heavy, that's your indicator that you're getting warmer, you're getting colder when it comes to fulfilling your destiny for your life.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. I love that phrase, your dreams are your job, because I think so many times we get those dreams, we get those gifts, and those things are not for us to hoard or to hide even. It's really for us to kind of showcase and really make that impact in the world. And I love that you're able to kind of see people at their best selves, because I think so many times when we do have those visions, when we do have those goals or those things that are kind of put on us, or we feel like are part of us even, we want to be appreciated, we want to be recognized. And I love that you're able to kind of see that and to help people to get to that level that you kind of know is within you, but sometimes you can get I guess conditioned by the world, conditioned by things in the world to believe that you're not able to do.
Absolutely. Because I mean, did you know that when, you know, Think and Grow Rich, the book, right?
Hmm.
Did you know that when that book came out, that Henry Ford tried to keep it from being published because he said, quote, nobody will want to run my assembly lines.
Hmm.
How's that for mind blowing?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that it definitely speaks to the power that you have, like when you are able to start to understand and empower yourself and do those things towards that freedom that you ultimately sometimes deep down kind of want.
Yeah, and deserve and have, and we're here to have.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, every time someone is empowered to know what they're capable of doing, they can then pass that on to someone else. Like, I'm not a person to boast, but I can guarantee when we get off this call, you're going to be a completely different person just by a couple of the things that I dropped into this conversation. And that's not to pat myself on the back. That's to say the power of what we as, you know, a collective consciousness separated into different people, what we're truly here to do. And you may go do, you know, a post or a live or something that's going to go blow 50 people's minds because of that. And I'm not here to take credit for that. I'm here to say I'm doing my job.
Yeah, and that's what's so powerful. And I love how you said, you didn't get the job necessarily in basket weaving, unless that is, your dream or your gift. But it's the thing that is in alignment with who you are. And it creates that ripple effect that has so much effect on, the people and lives and so many different things in this world. So truly appreciate that. And so I wanted to switch gears a little bit. And I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Mm. Okay. So, being that I'm a highly emotional person, one of my CEO hacks is what I call bookends. And bookends is all about having a morning routine that's always the same, having an evening routine that's always the same, not the same from each other, but the same.
Mhm.
And then the middle of my day is fluid. So, I know what category I have to get accomplished. But maybe today I got really bad news and I'm not in the mood to go write 10 emails. So that's if I'm doing, you know, housekeeping, that's going to be a day that I'm going to delete emails, right? Like, or if it's, you know, actual housekeeping, right? I have 5 little kids and a husband. So like if I'm supposed to be cleaning and I'm like, you know what, I don't really feel well, then maybe I'm not going to go do the toilets that day. I'm going to go and, you know, dust, cuz you know what I mean? So like being able to recognize, like figuring out the categories of what you have to do in the course of your day for all the roles that you play, giving yourself permission to only choose the category for the time period and allow the energy of the time to pick the actual task.
That's so huge, and I think it goes back to like the work that you do, because again, we can get so attached to the how instead of the why. And I think when you start to create, those bookends, as you said so well, I'm a big believer in like the systems will set you free. So I think when you have those bookends, it allows you to know that okay, these things will be taken care of, and then you have the fluidity of determining, and especially during like transformational and times like this where things are constantly changing, you want to make sure you have that fluidity, because that's how you're going to be and reach your goals.
Yeah, exactly. And then if somebody calls you up and says, hey, I've got a spot to do blah, 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 then you don't have to move a bunch of stuff around. Then you can
Mhm.
say, oh, well, this was going to be my professional development block. But yeah, I can absolutely go do a marketing block and I can go out and share myself. And you just switch stuff around because then your schedule isn't because and that's also suffocating too, especially for an entrepreneur. We're usually free spirits, we're usually visionaries. So it's kind of hard to pigeonhole yourself like that. You just start feeling like all of the creativity got sucked out and then you become non-productive. But when you pour that creativity back into it and you give yourself that flexibility and that grace, now those ideas and that productivity starts flowing more freely.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, what we were kind of talking about in the beginning of why we're doing what we're doing. And when you're really aware of that, you make sure that that's the filter. Sometimes we get caught in like doing all these things will help to get us to that goal. When in reality, we have the opportunity to kind of create that freedom because it already exists. We just need to make place and time for that.
Exactly. Yep. You hit it on the head.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Oh, this is so good. And you know what? When you started the sentence, I'm like, well, I have no idea. And then by the time you finished it, I had it. So here it is. Don't discount your credibility in your zone of genius if you don't excel in your zone of excellence.
Mm,
So, for example, when I first started coaching, I didn't have a lot of people didn't know who I was. And so I started really questioning if I was good enough because I wasn't signing a lot of clients. And I was like, well, I just suck at coaching. And then it was like, no, you idiot. You suck at marketing. You don't know marketing. Marketing's your problem. You are an incredible coach, but nobody knows who you are. So when I was able to hire someone to do the marketing who knew what they were doing and maybe wasn't a very good coach, now all of a sudden that magic happened. And now I'm pretty proficient in marketing and I can do it a little bit, not anywhere near those other people can, but I realized that I was operating on a fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset. So I would say if there's something in your business that if you're not getting the results that you want from the thing that you're doing, consider if there's another discipline or another area that you're not proficient in, and then swallow your pride and go find somebody who is, and then you'll really see results.
yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that and being transparent, because I think so many times people that are in business that might be struggling, or in life, in any aspects of life, that may not realize that life is not in silos. It's intertwined, it overlaps, it creates domino effects. And if we don't take care of one aspect, the brilliance, it could affect the excellence, and so on and so forth. So to be able to understand what and how they interact is really the true gift, because you can start to have a partner, you can hire people, you can do all those things to help alleviate that time, so you can spend more time into the thing that you're really, really giving, you really, really have as a gift.
Yeah, exactly. And then you don't start second guessing yourself about your proficiency and your gift, which now that I look at it, I'm like, how did I ever think that me not being able to get the word out about me had anything to do with me as a coach? But back then I did. And I'm sure somebody listening to this is going to go, oh my gosh, that's totally what I've been beating myself up over.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And so I wanted to ask you now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, Amy Lee, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Being a CEO to me means that my business is my baby. It's my baby. And just like I can't leave one of my 5 kids and not feed them, or not get up one day and decide to change a diaper, even if I have a migraine, my business lives and dies with me. And so, although I may bring people in and, have people help me, I have to remember that I'm still in charge. It's still my baby. I have to delegate and not abdicate, right? Like I still have to have oversight on what's going on, even if I trust somebody else to take care of my baby. If they bring back my baby and they say, well, I didn't feed him for 3 hours, I don't, it's not their fault. It's my fault because I never should have left them with somebody who didn't feed my baby. So that's really been the biggest thing, is that when you recognize that this entity that you're creating is a bouncing little baby and it's a toddler and it needs you, and it needs you to nurture it, and it needs you to protect it, and it needs you to encourage it, and it needs you to do all the things. And the more it grows and the longer you have it, the more self-sufficient it will become. But at the beginning, it's literally like you're getting up every 3 hours to feed it. And you have to be able to have that mindset, that radical responsibility. There's no, oh, well, my business failed because of COVID. Bull crap, because my business exploded in COVID. So it's really just a question of, are you getting up every couple of hours to feed the baby and change diapers? Or are you sitting there crying that that your baby gets taken away by child services?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you for giving that definition. I love that word radical responsibility because I think so many times we forget about that and not just, for ourselves and the life and the business that we have, but also for the people that we're serving, the clients that we have, the people on our team. It's so important to kind of tap into that radical responsibility. And
And
as you,
can
yeah,
I
go
just
for it.
add one tiny thing because I
Go
don't
for
want
it.
to miss this, is that people hear that word and they think it sounds like blame. They think it sounds like, well, it's all your fault. But what I want people to understand, when you remove the victim mentality, you bring in the empowerment, right? So if I'm a victim of my circumstances, then I can't change them because they happened to me. But when I empower myself to take radical, and by the way, Will Smith talks about this all the time. This isn't an Amy Lee thing. I can't take credit for this. But once you recognize that you are the only one who is able to respond, responsibility, that's when the magic happens because now you are empowered. Now I gave you all your power back. Now you're this like sorceress of magic where you can create change in your life as opposed to you waiting for me to pat you on the head and give you permission or give you a handout or tell you it's going to be okay because that isn't helping you.
Yeah, and that's so powerful because I think a lot of times we are always kind of pointing the finger about, X, Y, and Z is happening to me, not happening for me. And I think when you start to flip that switch, so to speak, and you start to see that maybe your business is not going to be exactly the same as it was pre-COVID, but that doesn't mean that you can't have had a more abundant and blossoming business. Maybe you pivoted, maybe you changed, maybe you did something, but you took the ownership, you took the responsibility to be able to make those changes to put yourself up to your success. And I love kind of going back to what you talked about as well, where we're given these gifts, we're given these dreams as our roles and responsibilities. And when that is our charge, that is something that we're radically responsible for, we will find a way in order to make that happen. And that's on us to do that. So I love that definition. I love the perspective and just a reminder as well, too. So truly appreciate that, Amy Lee. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that opportunity. Guys, it's just, look, here's the thing. Your life is your tapestry. It's your easel. You have all the paint. You have anything that you want, you can create. The problem is that you don't want it. And when you figure out what you want, when you figure out what you truly desire, I mean, the iPhone wasn't in a catalog of things you could invent, right? It came from someone's mind. The airplane, cures for diseases, suspension bridges, all of those things had to come from here before they could be created out here. And you are just as, if not 100% more capable of thinking and designing your dreams than anyone else in history who ever has. The only difference is they did the work on the front end so that they could see the results on the back end. And so that is what I want to leave you with. And if you guys are looking to get a hold of me, you can find me in my Facebook group, which is Dream Building Entrepreneurs, or you can go to my website, which is gratitudeandglamour.com. Yeah, and I have a really fun on that website. I have a really fun little dream design archetype assessment that you can take that will help you start your dream design journey. So thanks.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy Lee. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can click through and follow up. But I'm a big believer. I always say this, that, if you run your own race, you can never lose. But I think it's probably just as important, if not more important, as you said so well, to know what race you're running. So I appreciate you for doing the work to help people to understand what that is and what that looks like so that we can be our best selves and run that race. So thank you so much again for all the work you do and the time you took today. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much for having me.